Well, hi, everybody. Here we go with my first attempt at an Instagram Live long show. I've given you a couple short samples to check in with and to try to practice, but now I'm trying to do the real thing. So, kind of excited, hoping to see a lot of you on here. And I have some great ideas, some great giveaways planned. And so I think right now I'll just, for those of you who don't know me personally, I'm Brenda Stichter. I'm a painter of hope, and I paint abstract paintings primarily. You can see a few of them here in our back entry. And I paint abstracts because they can say something that I can't say with representational paintings, and I'm excited to share some of what I do. I'm a painter of faith, and so almost everything I paint is based on something from Scripture or something, that I have learned in studying or talking to God or something along those lines. So as I get started here, I want to show you paintings here in my entry. I'll tell you the names of them, and what I would like to do is have you think about if there's a painting that you have a particular question about, maybe try to keep the name of that painting in mind, and I'll answer some questions later if I can manage it. So let me turn this around, show you a couple of paintings here, tell you what they are called. So this painting that I was trying to stand in front of is called Morning Prayer. Right here I have thank you, my pink friend. And it's got a great story behind it. Right up here I have a little painting called I Will Arise. And it's the painting that has won the biggest prize of all of my paintings. And then a little more representational piece called Lake Amelia. And then one here called Hesed. Okay, I'm going to turn this around a minute and show you. You can't read it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is give this camera to my beloved husband, who's going to be helping me out. He's going to hold the camera for me, answer some questions, or, respond to what you say to me, and hopefully help me remember the things that I want to talk to you about. So here is my beloved husband, Bruce. Say hi, because you're right on the camera. And he's going to hold this, and I'll show you my discount code, my email, and my website. Can you see it?
Yep.
And I'll hold that for a minute while I talk to you about these paintings. Did I miss anything that I wanted to say so far?
Not that I can think of.
All right. What I would like to do is walk through some of the areas in my house that have my paintings on display. I'm all set up for a live open house, but as you know, with COVID, most of what we're doing has to be digital. So I will walk through and tell you the names of paintings. So if you see one that you especially want to know something about, keep the name in mind. Maybe send us a message and we will try to respond between the two of us, both of us not exactly knowing what we're doing, but we will do our best to give you the information you're looking for. So let me start up here. I have a little landscape on canvas called Be Still My Soul. Here I have Joy Comes in the Morning. This one is called Crown of Pure Gold, and it's a little hard to see. I bet you it's not showing up real well, but it's mostly black and gold. Kind of a cool painting. Here I have one called The Flow. This is called All Dressed Up. It's one of my more recent paintings, and you've probably seen it if you've seen any announcements about this open house, because I use this as my cover shot for all of my announcements. And then down here I have Holy Week. This is called Heartfelt. Let It Rain. A Prayer for Peace. Now I'm not even halfway through the paintings in this room yet, so I hope you're hearing the titles. But some of the things that I think are really interesting about my paintings when you see them in person is here, I'll hold this while I talk for a minute so you can see if I'm covering what I want to. On a lot of the paintings, there's a lot of texture, and I use a paint that's called an interference paint that shows up in certain lights but doesn't necessarily show up unless it does have special lighting. So this painting has a little of that. This painting has a lot of it. This painting has some. A lot of them have some special things that you only really see in the right lighting, and that's one of the things that I wish you could be here for my open house in person so you could see these things. But let me give you a few more titles here. This is called Wild and Sweet. This is called Comfort 2. Down here, In the Morning, kind of an abstracted landscape. Right here we have The Heavens Declare. This bigger one, Winding Down. Here we have Breaking Through, Reinvigorating, and A Gift to Be Simple. Let me go around the corner here to these 4 little paintings. These are 6 by 6 inch paintings, and when I sell them, I usually sell them with the frame. Most of my paintings, if you purchase during this live event, most of them will not come with a frame unless you specifically ask. I'd encourage you that if you're going to buy a painting from me and you don't want to just order from my website because you want a frame, or you're going to pick it up and don't want shipping, or whatever the case may be, just contact me and I'll be delighted to work with you on it in any way. But if you choose to buy during the open house event that we're having, and you go to my website, brendastichter.com, you'll have to kind of look around a little bit in the painting section to find the paintings. On that page, you can click Add to Cart, and it will ask you for a code. If you enter this code during this event, 2020 IG Live 30, you'll get a 30% discount on price, and you will not be charged shipping and handling. So it's a big discount for some pieces. I'd encourage you to buy while the live event is going on if you want to, because it will be worth your while. So just contact me, send me a private message, or email me if you have some other situation that you'd like to work with for that. Here are these 4 little paintings. This is called Show Me the Way, The First Noel 2019, Shadow Couple, You Are Cordially Invited. I'd like to talk just a little while about You Are Cordially Invited. It's one of my favorite small paintings that I've done, and it surprised me that it turned out so well. Part of the reason is I painted this painting in my studio when I was being videoed for a presentation for a painting that went to an exhibit in Indianapolis. It was a big deal exhibit, and since COVID is here, we had to send our paintings and video our explanations or our introductions to people, whatever. So I had the son of a friend, his name is Bo Eckel, come and do a video of me in my studio, and part of the video included me painting. This little painting, as you can see, has a kind of a cohesive color scheme for most of it, has a cruciform composition, as many of my paintings do. I choose cruciform to start with for a lot of paintings. Cruciform means cross shape, like a cross design principle, like it's the structure that you build the painting on. I choose the cruciform because just like I want to build my painting on a cruciform shape, I want to build my life on Jesus Christ's sacrifice for me on the cross, and the life he gives me from that, and that he brings me joy and peace and comfort, and I want that to be something that that other people can see in me, in my work, and can be drawn to. He's the most beautiful thing in my universe, and excuse me, and I want to communicate that with my artwork. Sorry about that. So this is something that was behind some of this painting. I invited Bo to come into my studio to film me and to film me as I painted, even though I don't even let my beloved husband in with me when I'm painting most of the time because I'm really focused. I have a hard time turning from paint to words. I have a hard time even hearing him when he talks to me when I'm painting. And so for me to invite someone in to video me while I was painting was a big deal to me. During that time, in my reading in the Bible, I was reading in the Old Testament about King Hezekiah. And I know sometimes it may seem difficult to be inspired by something from the Old Testament, particularly when it's talking about the kings or the judges. But King Hezekiah was surrounded by enemies, and he got a letter from his enemies saying, "Give up, we're going to smash you." And he took that letter into the presence of God and spread it out and said, "What are we going to do? We can't win this war." He invited God in to the situation. And God, because he was invited by Hezekiah, God destroyed his enemies. One of the most important words for me as an artist is invite. I want to invite you to enjoy my art, to see my art. And through that, I want to invite you to see the beauty of my God. I want to invite you into his presence. So this little painting, "You are cordially invited," is about that invitation. I really love how it turned out. It goes up in certain lighting. I really like the cool tones and the highlights and accents of the warm tones. It just really worked well, and I was surprised at how well I was able to do with someone else in my studio. And let me look at my outline of what I want to talk to you about. Okay, I have showed you my discount card, but I'll show it to you again. And I've introduced you to Bruce, which is what I want to do. So I think one of the first things we'll do is give a door prize. I had mentioned that I wanted to give some door prizes, so let me go get those. Bruce, do you want to hold on to this for a minute while I go get that first door prize? Okay, the first thing I want to give away is this little Christmas tree ornament. I did a few of these last year. I learned this technique from an artist whose name is Carol Nelson. I went to a workshop that she gave to learn this technique. It was done for a different kind of painting, but I thought it worked really well for these ornaments. So I have given Bruce a number, and he is going to choose based on the number I gave him before we started filming and tell you who has won this little prize.
I need everyone that's listening to send a hi, and I'm going to take the fifth hi that I get, and that'll be the person. So I see a number of people are on here, so just say hi on your response, and the fifth hi, I will give that to. You can do it more than once if you want to.
Since we're not real experienced with this, we're having to kind of wing it, so hopefully you'll get a chance to respond. And when Bruce knows who wins, he'll tell me, and I'll have you send me a private message so that I know where to send this. Okay, Bruce, I'd like to walk a little further and talk about some more of these paintings. Over here, this is called Again with the Roses. These three paintings above our fireplace here are called, let me see, Restore Me, Untroubled Heart, Hear My Cry. These three paintings, each right here, right in the focal point, right there, have a little page from a New Testament that's been worked into the work. like a collage type technique. It's pretty hard to see, but each of those has the message from the verse that I chose to put there is the message of the painting, and I tried to express it using color, using that iridescent paint again. One thing I love about these three paintings is that even when the lighting is poor, the gold shapes in there just shine out even when you don't have great lighting. And so even in the mornings without all these lights on, they look great. So that's one thing I really like about those. This is called Shadowed and Across the Lake. These two are quite inexpensive, little 3-inch paintings in 4-inch frames. These would be shipped in their frames. This painting is called Joy is the Flag Flown High, and this is one you really have to see in person. I really doubt that you can see a lot of the highlights in here, again, that show up best under certain lighting. I hope you're not getting sick of hearing me talk. I'm getting tired of talking. As an introvert, I don't do a whole lot of that if I can help it. So, have you got your number 5 yet? Okay. We're still working on getting our number 5. So, even if you've already said hi, give us another wave or another comment or something so we can pick number 5 for that ornament. This group of 9 is a group about Psalm 23. Each one represents a verse in that psalm, not always necessarily each verse of the psalm, but the concepts in the psalm. And they can be sold individually or as an entire group. This one down here is called In an Open Place. And can you see it, Bruce? Mm-hmm. It's kind of, yeah. It's a very subtle piece, and I really do love it, even though most of my pieces are quite bold and have a lot of contrast in them. I'm going to look at my list here, see what else I need to talk to you about before we move on to the next room.
Well, if you want a 5, Sandy Schaefer was the 5th
All right,
bubble
Sandy,
to show up there.
You're the one to win the purple ornament door prize today. So let's move on into the hallway, and I'll tell you a little bit more about some of the paintings in here. This painting is a lot of fun. I don't know, can you see all of the colors and interesting shapes and things? This is called constellation composition, where the points of interest are all over the place, like stars would be in the sky. It still has a cohesive, mostly cool tone base of the, for color theory, but it has a lot of the warm tones popping through to be expressive of a delightful time. I don't remember if I said the title. It's called Let's Go Fly a Kite. And I painted it early in the COVID lockdowns. Bruce had the great idea. Oh, step in. Bruce had the great idea of going outside and trying to fly a kite. And I had some great photographs of him with a lot of these same colors as we tried to fly kites. And I never got mine up. He got his up, but not for very long. But anyway, this painting is called Let's Go Fly a Kite. Over here we have offering. This painting is, as I mentioned in one of my earlier videos, this painting was done right before my very first open house. And I can tell you more about it later if you ask about it, if that's one you want to see. I have here Red Barn at Night and Who Are You? And then even in our bathroom we have some pieces. This one turned out way more representationally than I usually prefer, but I really like it. It's called Night Watches. And over here, I have Mist. This is mostly silver. I don't know if you can tell, silver and purple. And this is called Refreshing. By the door, there's a triptych of little paintings on canvas. Philistine 1, 2, and 3. This is our, well, it was a guest room before I started painting, and now it holds my painting storeroom for paintings I've done over the years that have not yet sold. As you can see, there are quite a few of them. This room, I'm not going to go through piece by piece, but just to give you an idea of some of the older works that are exhibited here. Did you catch the roses over there? Thanks. Okay, let me just, oh, you want to show my studio? This is my playroom. I love being in this room. When I'm in here, time disappears. As I said, I don't hear words very well. A lot of times I don't even listen to music. My paint is my way of worshiping God. And when I'm in here painting, it's like a form of prayer. I don't even know how to express it, but I'm completely taken away when I'm in here, and I just love it. So welcome to my studio. Let me just show you just a real quick walk by right here. These, I think it's 27 paintings. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, 27 paintings. Is that right?
21.
21. 21 paintings. These are all based on Lamentations 3, 22, and 23. That verse says, "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness." This series is called the New Every Morning series. And when I need a warm-up, when I need to refresh my painting skills, sometimes just because I want to, I paint something small like this. A lot of them, again, are on the cruciform composition, and they reference God's mercies being new every morning. These are listed on my website in the under $100 section of paintings. All of these, of course, are called New Every Morning, but there are also a lot of other 6x6 paintings in that section. Okay, I'm taking to you this cool room in our house that was designed by my beloved husband. As our kids grew up, that part of the house that we were just in is pretty small. As our kids grew up, it felt too small, and we talked about adding on a room, and I thought we'd add on just a nice tidy little room, but this is what Bruce designed, and boy, I love it out here. If you can see, lots of room for me to hang my big paintings. We get a lot of sunlight in here, and I really need it in the winter especially. So let me give you a few more titles before I talk about another painting.
Hang on, I need some help. How do I
Okay.
get this to go away?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Great. Bruce, if there are comments, you may want to read them to me, because I don't know if I'll get to see them otherwise, so at some point.
Okay.
Or respond to them and tell me about them later. Right over here, this painting is called In an Interesting Place. Pardon me, I'm stepping up on my treadmill so I can get close enough so you can see it. I'm going to wind around this way by our fireplace. Up here, this small painting is called Reading Great Books. Really tiny little guy. This painting is called Anchored. Magenta for Heaven's Sake. This is the painting that I was being videoed for when I painted You Are Cordially Invited. Right here I have Praying for Rain. This is another painting that, oh, I wish you could see it in person. The depth, the texture, the change in color, just isn't communicated very well digitally. It's called Praying for Rain. I maybe already said that. But it really expresses my heart in not only praying for rain in a physical sense, but praying for God to be present, to rain down on me and be present. And there's a lot to this painting, and I wish you could see it in person. Down below here, that doesn't really show, I have When the Morning Stars Sang. This painting I've had for a few years. It's been in several shows and had some awards and so on, but I wanted to hang mostly my new work, but this one's big enough that I don't really have a good place to put it. It doesn't really fit in the guest room, so it stays out here. Wait, My Soul.
Say that again.
Wait, My Soul. Tiptoe. And here I have 3 paintings that I want to talk about for a little bit. So before I do, let me show you this once more in case you need it. Hopefully you've already got it. These paintings should all be available on my website here under the Paintings tab. The larger ones are going to be under Abstract. The smaller ones under Paintings Under $100. You can email me, brenda@brendastichter.com, with any questions or anything that we don't cover tonight. And this is the coupon code to get 30% off and free shipping and handling if you purchase during the live show tonight. So now let me tell you about these 3 paintings here. I have been following a gallery called Square Halo Gallery. They last year announced an open exhibit, which means they invite artists to submit work for an exhibit to show in their gallery. This exhibit that they were having was based on the Inklings. The Inklings, as you probably know, are a group of authors that they're about a generation ago, maybe a little more, in Great Britain. They included J.R. Tolkien, C.S. Lewis. I believe Lewis's brother was part of that group, Owen Barfield, and quite a few others. They used to meet in a pub that I can't remember the name of it, but it's a tourist destination in Great Britain. Square Halo Gallery was having was having an exhibit inviting artists to do works on paper based on the Inklings. So I know of some people who were painting portraits of these authors, who were illustrating the books. What I chose to do was read up about them a little bit. I study always when I'm painting. There's a lot of background study in the things that I'm working on. So I read about the Inklings and found that they believed that a good way to communicate truth is through fiction. So I chose to choose a fiction work by each of 3 authors and paint an abstract piece based on those books that I chose. So let me start here. This is a painting based on a short story by J.R.R. Tolkien called Leaf by Niggle. It is a fabulous short story, and I highly recommend it. This painting is based on a different composition than some I've told you about before. This is called overlapping frames or overlapping rectangles. You can kind of see the overlapping idea here. The story, Leaf by Niggle, is about a man who has to go on a journey, but before he goes, he has something that he considers very important. There's something he wants to finish, but he is constantly being interrupted. Other priorities seem to interrupt him when he's trying to work on the important things. I'm not going to ruin the ending, though I will tell you that painting a leaf on a tree is an important part of this story. I've already talked about the composition here. This little patch right here is gold leaf, and I wanted that to be kind of a visual pun on the title of the book, Leaf by Niggle. The idea of the one most important thing versus all of the smaller things that are important, but they interrupt you when you're trying to do the most important thing. Those are things in the story, and I wanted to communicate them with this picture. Now, all three of these, if you can see, they all three have the same colors. I chose the same transparent colors to communicate here. And I started with this painting, which is based on a C.S. Lewis book, and that's what set the color choices for the whole series. This book is The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis, and I hope a lot of you have read it. You may not have. In The Great Divorce, there is a place called the Gray Town. A man in the Gray Town is getting on a bus, and the bus goes to this bright, solid world. And as the people get off the bus, they find that they're ghosts. They're not substantial enough to live in this bright world. So in this painting, you see, if you look closely, you see these little gray forms. These are the ghosts. I did little caricatures of individual characters that are in the book for those. And then right here is a gray line. The whole gray town in that book is actually in a crack in the ground. And you can't even see it when you're in that bright, beautiful world. And so I wanted this crack to be so that you could barely see it. But it's painted with the same paint that the people are. It's golden paint called micaceous oxide. And it's a little bit transparent, but it's also gritty. It has a gritty feel to it, and it's got a little sparkle to it too. So I wanted to communicate the idea of these people coming from that gray place that you could hardly even tell was there, and not being substantial in that bigger world. They're invited to be in the bigger world if they choose to change to stay there in this story. Moving down to the third inkling. This is Owen Barfield. The book or the story is called The Silver Trumpet, and it's a children's story. I loved reading this story. It was hilarious, but I have to admit that it was kind of scrambled as far as the storyline. Like, not all of the loose ends got tied together, and so it was a little confusing. So when I painted this, I chose again to do kind of a constellation composition where the points of interest are kind of scattered, because I felt like the story was kind of scattered. I wanted it to feel playful because the book is really playful and funny, like I said. It's got a lot of little pencil lines in it, as you saw, which reminds me of a children's drawing or something. There's a little shape right here, some little silver marks. When it talks about the silver trumpet playing in the book, the words take that shape on the page, and so I wanted to reflect that in the painting too. So I love these paintings, and I felt like they were really great at illustrating these stories by the Inklings, and the exhibit got canceled. So I was really disappointed about that, but it is nice to be able to still have them around the house. I really enjoy looking at them and thinking about why I painted them the way I did. Have I missed anything up to this point? I'm hoping there's still a few people with us.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, I want to give away an ACEO, and I didn't bring it out here. So why don't you give me the camera for a minute and go get the ACEO from the other room while I talk about a couple more paintings and then bring it in? Is that going to work?
Where?
It's on the counter. So forgive me this. I'm going to turn the camera around here for a minute. All right. Sorry, I'm going to have to turn it back around when Bruce gets back. But I'll walk a little further around the living room here and tell you the names of these paintings. This is probably my current favorite. I don't know. There are about 3 that are my favorite. Every Good Gift is the title of this painting. And right over here. Okay, turning the camera around again. Right here, I have Fear Not. Fear Not is another painting that I wish you could see in person. The depth of color, the iridescence, it's just amazing. And I wish you could see it. So I'm going to let Bruce show this ACEO that we want to give away for our next door prize. ACEO stands for Art Cards, Editions, and Originals. Did I say that right? Okay, and this one is in a frame, and I will give it away in the frame. I have given Bruce a number again, and so he is going to choose based on the number I've given him.
The number's 3. You do it.
Oh, it's Rosalie. Rosalie, you've won a door prize. I've had your address in the past, but you might need to send it to me again, and I'll try to get this sent to you. I'm excited that you won this. I'm going to give Bruce the camera here.
How do I turn it around so that they can see you? There.
Okay. All right, let's look at this wall. Hopefully you can see it. This painting is called An Essay on Pied Beauty. Pied Beauty is a poem by Gerard Manley Hopkins, and it is gorgeous. You should read it. He's an old poet from the 1800s. And interestingly, this painting is signed in the vertical position, portrait, but I liked it better, especially with this grouping in horizontal, so I hung it sideways. So some people get a little worked up if they accidentally look at my painting the wrong way. Don't worry about it. I do it too. This painting is called Come to Me. Once again, it's got the collage piece of scripture. Oh, you know what I haven't talked about is my 3 circles. Can I see where I put them in there? I'll have to pick a different painting. On almost every painting, I use a symbol that represents my relationship with God. And sometimes in the painting, it is in the most important place in the painting. Sometimes it's down by my signature, but I almost always get it in there. So I'll show it to you in one where you can see it real clearly. This painting is called And David Danced. This is called In Passing. This painting, I'm going to take it down, Bruce, so I can show some of the lighting on it. Does that show?
That shows much better like that.
Yeah. It's a cool painting. I really like it. So, see if I can get it hung up here. Yeah. All right. These 2 are kind of COVID paintings. Home free. Talking about being at home, at least partly. And about, in John 14, Jesus talks about, in my Father's house are many dwelling places. That's what this one's focusing on. This one is called Make Yourself Homely. My beloved husband likes to abuse the phrase make yourself at home by saying make yourself homely, but I kind of think we all sort of feel that way right now when we are locked down. So there are places where there are little dwellings, little homes. They're connected, but they're also separate. And that's kind of the direction I was going with this painting. Around here, one that you probably won't want to buy yet because it's nowhere near finished. This huge canvas would be terrifying if I didn't have a good way to activate the canvas. Activating the canvas just means putting something on there so you can get started painting. The very first thing I put on here is from Habakkuk 3, I Stand in Awe. I was reading it, I was just experiencing it in a deep way. It's not only awe of God's beauty in this passage in the Old Testament, but it's also awe of his his status as the Lord of the armies and Almighty God. So that's where this started. Then as I continued to study, I came across all these names. If you look closely, there are names in yellow, green, and pink. These are names of singers that are mentioned by name in the Old Testament, both in the tabernacle and in the temple, and then in some other places. Jubal was a father of stringed instruments. Miriam led the women of Israel in a song of triumph after one of their military victories. David, of course, we know, had a lot of music in his life. Asaph was a singer-songwriter that wrote many of the Psalms. So this painting is going to be talking about the awe of God and how he uses music in the Old Testament, New Testament, in our lives, in my life. So music will be part of this painting. It'll be a while before it's done. This is like the very first layer of what I do, and almost everything has a lot of layers. So, but this is where I paint. When I paint a huge painting, don't usually have all this display up. I usually have a bigger drop cloth because paint goes everywhere when I paint. But when I have a really large one, I need lots of room to move. This is where I do it. So another painting I would like to point out is above the French doors there. That is called Gratitude. You may have seen that. It's been exhibited a few places and used in a few places. And over here by my daughter's piano, I have a small one called Road Lilies. And this enormous painting is 4 foot by 5 called Seek My Face, one of my less common representational paintings. And, you know, it's still abstract in style. You can tell what it's supposed to be, but I don't want it to be a photograph. I don't want you to be able to see clear the edges and pick out leaves on the trees and stuff, because I want you to feel it more than examine it closely. So over here, this painting is called Wellspring, the Chosen One. This painting, I had help coming up with the title for it. It's called Far Kingdom.
That one's got a glare on it.
I'm sorry. I think some of my favorite colors together are purple and green. I love in the spring and summer when the wildflowers come out, and a lot of them are purple with all the green leaves around, and so I love trying to incorporate that into painting, especially this hints at being a landscape. So that's kind of where that was going. Substance of Things Hoped For is a little bit older painting. Again, it's won some awards and it's been in a lot of places, but it's one of my favorites. Of course, that's like somebody with 100 kids saying that it's one of their favorite kids. Two more here on the tower. This painting is called Benediction. This is a Christmas painting. Oh, go ahead and look at Benediction for a minute. And please remember to be thinking about questions and sending your questions so that I can answer them in a few minutes here.
Brenda, this one has circles, but has your 3 circles that
yeah,
you started talking about.
Yeah, my 3 circles. I put this symbol in a lot of my paintings, in all of them if I remember, and I usually do. It represents the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, but it also represents my dependence on God, my relationship with Him. So this is a Christmas painting talking about God entering our world. And these circles, many of them are the same iridescent paint I've been talking about that changes in different lighting. This is, again, beautiful in real life. I don't know if you can tell here, but then the last painting that I really wanted to talk to you about before I try to answer questions, if we can figure that out. This painting is called Prayers and Promises. I've been forgetting to tell you Bible verses, but almost all of them have a Bible verse attached to them. The verse for this painting, it's actually a passage. Philippians 4, 5 through 7. Let your gentle spirit be known to all men. The Lord is near. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all comprehension, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. And man, have I needed these verses lately. They're on the wall in my studio. You might have seen that. This painting started out, as many do, with activating the canvas. And fairly early on, I wrote the words from these verses on there. The Lord is near was right at the top. Gentle spirit was there. Prayers and petitions and peace beyond understanding was there. And I continued to paint, and sorry, I'm going to cry at you again. During the time I was painting this, I had a heavy burden, heavy burden, that I needed prayer for, and I needed God's peace. And I was talking to my mom about it. I talked to my mom once or twice a week, and I was talking to mom about that, and she said, well, Brenda, paint it. Paint the thing that you're struggling with. So I did. I painted words of a prayer request on here, and I painted color and angry shapes and colors that did not go together. I use transparent paint a lot because it's my favorite, but I do also have opaque paints that cover, which comes into play here, but I use them in ways I don't normally. That didn't go well because I was so troubled. And then I knew that the next step was to take the prayer to God and to accept his answer, and then to express that on the painting. And as I thought about prayer, a verse came to mind that's a little bit out of context, but it says, ask the Lord of the harvest. It's talking about a different situation, but I was asking the Lord of the harvest to answer my prayer at that point. And I looked out of my window. I don't know if you saw it in my studio, but I have this awesome window that my beloved husband gave me for a birthday present. I looked out, and across our pasture there was green grass, and then a large field of yellow grass that was all ready to be harvested, enter the fall, and then our trees in the background. And I knew that was the answer to how I was to finish my painting. So if you can see the green grass at the beginning, the golden grasses, and the lines through them are representing the grasses and also the trees in the distance. So this again is probably at the top of my painting list right now. This one and the other yellow one across the room, those are my two favorites right now. This one is not quite finished. If you look around the corner here, Bruce, you can see I haven't finished the sides, the edges. When I do the edges, I paint either with black paint, or sometimes I use that micaceous oxide paint that I used when I painted the gray town and the little characters that became ghosts. That gives just a little shimmer and a little extra texture to the edges, and that's how I finish a big canvas like this. So that's all I have on my outline. If you have any questions that we can figure out how to answer, I'd be delighted to answer them for you. And otherwise, please PM me or email me or give me a call or a text, and I'll be glad to interact with you. Are there any questions, honey, that have come up?
None have bounced up here yet.
Earlier or anything? I hope we get it all figured out, and I can figure out how to upload the video to YouTube, and I can figure out how to look back at your comments and just interact with you more. If not, we're giving it a whirl. We're doing the best we can, and I may try to do another shorter video before Christmas. He's scrolling through comments and stuff, trying to see if there's something I can respond to.
No questions up in here.
Okay. Did you see any paintings that you would like me to talk any more about that you may have taken note of a name? Remember the code if you want to buy something during this video is 2020 IG Live, capital I, capital G, capital L, Live 30. And it is a 30% discount on the price of a painting and no shipping and handling. So it could be a pretty nice discount if you choose to buy or to buy a gift for someone or whatever. And Sandy and Rosalie, I'm excited about sending you your door prizes. Looking forward to hearing from you guys about that. Can we make it to an hour? Ooh, 10 minutes short. So if there are no questions, I think we'll wrap up. Thanks so much for joining me. My throat's really sore from talking so much. So, question.
Can you talk more about a painting in your entryway?
Yes.
We'll go back to the entryway, and Brenda can maybe give the names, and you can say which one it was.
Hesed, Morning Prayer, Thank You, My Pink Friend, I Will Arise, and Lake Amelia. Hesed over here.
This one is Hesed. Was that the one?
Morning Prayer is pink.
This one's Morning Prayer.
Thank You, My Pink Friend. Then I Will Arise. And Lake Amelia.
Okay, she just said that's, or they just said that's the one, and I don't know. There's a time lag here.
Yes.
Can you give the name?
Is it Morning Prayer or Hesed?
This one. This one is Hesed.
Hesed?
Hesed. Okay.
Okay. So Hesed started out with me activating. This is on watercolor paper. A lot of my paintings are on watercolor paper. It's a really heavy, strong paper. The other side of the paper has a gesso on it. And this started on the wrong side of the paper. The word Hesed is a Hebrew word in the Old Testament that evidently, from what I've learned, and you'd have to ask my Hebrew scholar daughter to learn more about it, but from what I've learned, Hesed is a word that means basically undeserved favor, undeserved love, God's everlasting love and mercy. Right here in this painting, I did my best to make a Hebrew script, and I think that one passed Brittany's check. I got it spelled the right way around and basically in the right shape. God's undeserved favor in a messy life is something I was expressing here. The verse is, again, Lamentations 3:22 and 23. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. So I have a lot of earth tones in here. Obviously a shape that reminds me of a church. A lot of scribbles or mark making, as artists like to call it. A lot of that representing life on earth, life of daily efforts, I guess I'd say. And the way that it can pull our focus away, and yet God has mercy for us. God has this love, this favor for us that is completely undeserved and completely overwhelming, and it's new every single morning. So that's some of what's behind this painting. And thanks for asking.
And then another person asked about morning prayer.
Yes, morning prayer is right here. The verse for it is Isaiah 12:5. Sing praises to the Lord, for he has done gloriously. Let this be made known in all the earth. So this one, I started out to go a different direction with this painting, as often happens. And went out with my beloved husband one morning. We had to get a car from the shop, and so we left early, and the sky was incredibly beautiful. It didn't look like this, but it was so beautiful that I nearly drove off the road. That happens a lot. I get distracted. But again, it was my response to God in thanksgiving for the beauty he was giving. I especially find this to be expressive of me talking to God, me experiencing his love and my prayer to him. I had a friend who lost her brother about the time that this painting was painted, and she talked to me about how this brought her comfort. Like, it didn't take away the pain, but it helped her express her relationship with God and her request for his love, I guess. So I don't know if that gives you what you're looking for. But that's some information about morning prayer.
Others that you want to have a little more discussion on? Anybody?
Maybe we can just walk back through slowly through like the living room and where I have a whole bunch of the smaller paintings. You can see our whole house is pretty much set up for me to be a painter. So we have this grid wall so that we can display and have open houses. And I actually use it a lot when I'm trying to decide if a painting is finished or not. I hang it there so I can look at it as I work, around the house.
This is not showing up well here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Too much glare.
Not enough light.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, are there any other questions?
Nothing else is coming up.
Try to throw a little more light. All right, one more time I want to thank you for being here. How many people are on right this minute?
I can't tell.
Oh, you can't tell? Okay. Thanks so much. I really thought probably only my daughter would be there. And my niece Missy, who suggested that I do an Instagram Live. So thanks for being there. Thanks for listening. I love you all.